quiet on the ball for a sun. And it's goodbye, golden rose. Yeah, it's goodbye, golden.
Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I am Ryan, and today I'm kicking off the vlog for AHAB'S return. I've actually already spent the whole week filming for this, but I never really started the vlog off. So I've done a few vlogs before. This is gonna be I think my third or my fourth. I hate doing it. It's so much effort. I've tended to do them over a few days or the week, and it's just more than I usually want to do. But this vlog's a little different. I do talk about AHAB'S return. At the end of the video, I will come back to you from today and talk about what this book looked like in the end, because I finished it today. But I'll also show you what I did this week. We drove about 9 or 10 hours from Northern Virginia outside of Washington, D.C. to Nashville, Tennessee, where I grew up. I went to a couple NHL hockey games, including one that was outside. We went to a science museum. We, being my parents, my wife, and my daughter, we drove down in 2 Teslas. So we had a number of recharging stops on the way down. And we also stayed at a hotel on the way down. So we split the drive between like a 5-hour and a 6-hour drive when you kind of factor in the charging stops. So it was a fun week. We hung out with our friends. We stayed with our friends at their house. It was great seeing everyone. It was great being back in Nashville and seeing how much it's grown. But I did read during this. The problem was I did a lot of other things and I didn't really record when I was reading. So while this vlog is about AHAB'S return, it's really going to cover the whole week. So I hope you enjoy that. It's going to be a little different. But it is about AHAB'S return. So, and you get to listen to a couple songs from Tom Petty, which I'm excited because he's one of my favorite. I will see you at the end of this video. There's going to be a wardrobe change, and I'll wear a hat, which I already had, but I didn't want to wear at the beginning of the video because at the beginning of the week, I didn't have these things. So, all right, see you then. We're on the road!
We're on the road!
Headed back down south, gonna see my daddy's mistress, gonna buy back her forgiveness, pay off every witness. One more time down south, sell the family headstones, drag a bag of dry bones, make good all my back loans. So if
I come to you from the pool in Kingsport, Tennessee, where we are stopping. We stopped here for the night last night, and I am reading AHAB'S return. It's about 8:30 in the morning, and then we're gonna get going on our way to Nashville. It's a nice pool. There's a nice hot tub. I just need a little bit of time to read this morning.
Lord in a renter, create myself down south, impress all the women, pretend I'm Samuel Clemens, wear seersucker and white linens. So if I come to your door, let me sleep on your floor. I'll give you all I have and a little more. Spanish moss down south, find the heroes of my childhood, can do me no good. Carve their names in dogwood. Chase a ghost down south.
Franchise leader in assists, a four-time NHL All-Star, and 2020 James Norris Golden Trophy winner. Welcome to
So if I come to your door, let me sleep more. I'll give you all I have.
I'm in a Books a Million. I haven't seen the Books a Million in a long time. We're heading back towards Virginia from Nashville, and we just stopped to charge up the Tesla. But this was near the charging station, so I went to check it out. It's pretty cool. I woke up this morning and I think I saw beavers down in the creek next to our hotel. I've never seen them in the wild. So I'm gonna go down and see if I can see them playing. So exciting! I found the beaver. There should be 2 beavers down here. So what have I been doing? We traveled down to Tennessee. We're still in Tennessee, but we're heading back to Virginia to watch a hockey game and watch a couple hockey games and visit friends. And I have been reading AHAB'S Return. So AHAB'S Return, let's see if I can walk up the hill and still talk. AHAB'S Return is basically a modern, it's not a retelling, it's like a modern day sequel, I guess, where it turns out Ishmael, who was telling the story, the narrator from Moby-Dick, was lying, and Ahab lived, and one other sailor lived. What I'm blanking on right now, but they Ahab returns. He gets in touch with a guy named Harrow who worked with Ishmael at a publication called the Gargan Mirror, I think, in New York City. And Ahab's trying to locate his wife and son, because we knew from Moby-Dick that he had a wife and son. Birds are going crazy. So it turns out there's this bad guy called the Pale King Toad who is getting people in New York high on opium and then using them to run out minorities, the Irish, Germans, probably Italians. Really, if you're not Anglo-Saxon Protestant, you're in trouble. And the main character, Harrow, has helped Ahab get his son back, Gabriel, but they're working with somebody else to take out the pale king toad and kind of remove that criminal element from New York City. It kind of happened accidentally, and there's elements of magic in this, kind of, although I don't know yet. I have probably about 30 pages left, and the pale king toad has done a number of things that seem a little suspiciously magical, but I also don't know if he's actually real or kind of a pipe dream. I don't know. There's 30 pages left for me to figure this out. There's a mythical beast in this book that is working for the pale king toad called a manicore, which is almost like the body of a beast with a scorpion tail and a woman's face, and she can talk, and she has a nice voice, and she rhymes. She likes to speak poetry, but some of our characters are trying to take control of her because she's very deadly, take out the pale king toad, keep Gabriel, Ahab's son, safe, because Gabriel was working for the pale king toad, and now he is coming off of his opium addiction. So that's where we are with it. I think there's going to be so much happening in the final 30 pages. It's related to Moby-Dick. It kind of approaches Moby-Dick as a work of fiction, which it is, but a work of fiction by Ishmael instead of Herman Melville. And this book takes place, I think, in 1852 or 1854. So it's still pretty far back, but it's been fun. I like it. It's creepy. I don't know where it's going yet, because I have all these theories on where it could be going. Some of those theories are a little out there, but there are elements of this book that are pretty out there too, so who knows. But we're gonna get in the car today and head back to Nashville, or head back to Virginia. It's gonna be about a 6-hour drive. So today I just looked out the window when we were waking up and saw 2 beavers. And came down to the water to check them out. So I'll catch you on the other side. So we're home, the end of the week, or the beginning of a new week, I guess. I'm wearing my number 35 Pecorine hat. Pecorine was the guy whose jersey was retired when I was in Nashville. My daughter got to see the retirement too. And we even got little banners for his retirement. I finished on I think about an hour or two out from getting home. I finished AHAB'S Return. I know the names better now. The main character in this book is George Harrow. He writes for the Gorgon Mirror. He also worked with Ishmael, who was his copy editor, I believe, earlier. And Ahab comes to him looking for Ishmael and also looking for his wife and his son, Gabriel. His wife had died of smallpox, and Gabriel had started working for this crime lord who is known as the Pale Toad King. What we also find out is not only was Ishmael alive, which we knew because that's the narrator of Moby-Dick, but we also, and we knew that Ahab was alive because he's one of the main characters in here. We also found out that, I don't know if it's Dago or Dago, I think it's Dago or Dagu, was also alive, although we found out in this book that his real name is Mahdi, and he was not quite as tall as Dagu or however you say it, in Moby-Dick. The other characters that we're dealing with in this book are Mavis, who is kind of a pickpocket, works for the Gorgon Mirror too. but she's also she kind of knows the streets, and she's very tough. We have Arabella, who is a well-off woman who's also trying to get the pale king toad. The other name for the pale king toad is Malbaster. So the book ended, I think, where I had left off in the video. I think I had about 30 pages left, maybe 40 pages left. I didn't know where it was going. I had a general idea, but there were so many things that could have happened. And those things didn't happen. At least the things that I thought could have been curveballs that I thought would have made it very interesting didn't happen. At the end, they duked it out. They found at least a quarter, I believe, of the opium supply and destroyed it. Then they had it out with Malbaster and a few of his men. They killed Malbaster, but then a giant white blob came out of him because he wasn't bleeding and went into the water, and Ahab went after him and said that I'm going to continue on to end this, basically so he could protect his son Gabriel from having to deal with the pale king toad anymore. Then we find out Maddie's going to go back to Africa. They actually kept three casks of opium and sold 2 of them for a good gain, a good profit. Maddie used that to go back to Guinea in Africa, where he's from. You know, the way it ended, we're left to believe that the pale king toad is not dead. He didn't bleed. They cut his throat. They shot him, and he turned into this white 12-foot blob and went to sea. And then Ahab went out after him. Gabriel and Mavis would end up marrying, probably, or at least having kids together. Ahab was never heard from again. And George Harrow continued on his work too. I think the idea was that the pale king toad was born out of an idea, a lot of anti-immigration and racism. And so were the kind of supporting cast that he had with him. But when they killed him, they didn't really kill that. Right? It was still a threat, especially in New York in that time period, obviously pre-Civil War. And the threat, the kind of nationalist threat, the threat to immigrants, the threat to minorities existed. So the pale king toad wasn't really gone. And Ahab was going to continue on to look for him, but it was going to still be a threat, and eventually Mahdi was going to come back from Africa and continue to help hunt him down to secure the country. I don't know about that ending. I understood it. There was so much magic in this that it felt like, I felt like Ahab deserved more of an ending than he got, and he was kind of trivialized. I mean, this is based off of some of the characters from Moby-Dick, but it wasn't really, and it referred to a number of things from Moby-Dick, but it wasn't like a continuation as much of Moby-Dick. It was just what had happened if people had survived, and there was kind of a fantasy angle to it. But the battle, with all the build up to this final fight against Malbaster and his disciples, the Jolly Host, there wasn't a whole lot that happened. There's only a small segment of the Jolly Host that knew where the opium was stored. They were able to confront Malbaster pretty quickly. Arabella had a pretty big role in that, but it wasn't drawn out. We didn't lose our characters at that point, and in the end, I think they won the battle, but did they win the war? Probably not, because we have another century and a half of racism and bigotry and stuff. I wasn't a huge fan of Ahab just kind of wandering off, just kind of jumping in a boat and going after this white blob from the pale king toad, because what happens to Ahab? Ahab's an important character. Ahab's a supremely important character in Moby-Dick, and I think he just, it's kind of like what happens to him? Does he die? Does he not die? You expect him to hunt it to the ends of the earth, but in the end, he doesn't win that either. And there's this prophecy that he's going to die in battle, When does that happen? Does that happen? Did the prophecy not come through? I liked the book. I thought there were things that I would have liked to have seen at the end that didn't happen. The lead up to it was really good. I think it was tangentially related to Moby-Dick. Certainly some of the characters were, but there were also other historical references too. I gave it 3 stars. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite book. But it I think a 3 is you like the book. Below a 3 is I didn't like the book, and a 1 is I hated this book. And that's not true. I really kind of oscillate between a 3 and a 4 for it. It was just I wanted more for Ahab in the end. And maybe I wanted more, I don't know if it's magic, some kind of conclusion to, was this magic we were seeing? What were they parlor tricks? And it looks like it was magic or some kind of supernatural thing, but the ending was not supernatural. So if they're fighting the supernatural force, the Pale King Toad, Mulbaster, who has all these stories about him, what is true, what isn't true, and is it supernatural? And if it is, how do they defeat something if they're not doing supernatural means? I don't know. So that was it. That was a fun week. It was a fun week. I'm wearing a Moby-Dick shirt that matches my Rockwell Kent illustrated copy that I got and did an unboxing for. I hope you enjoyed this. I will not do very many vlogs. They're just too much time to do, but I did enjoy this book and I recommend it. I recommend it if you know about Moby-Dick. I think you'll gain a lot understanding the backstory on some of the characters, Ishmael, Dago, however you say his name, Ahab, and kind of the facts around, or the fictional facts around the Pequod and what happened to Moby-Dick and how that plays into this book too. But I like it. I recommend it. And I hope you enjoyed this and the music and some of the things I did with my family this week. Just traveling around the United States and seeing my first live in the wild beaver. So that was pretty cool. All right. Thanks. Have a good one.